Hello friends, welcome to lab report number 13, June 7th, 2016. Today we're going to talk about a couple of very different things, and that is because I'm, as always, working on several very different projects. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is the lathe restoration that is going on as we speak. As you can see here, some parts of the headstock are submerged in this citric acid bath. I made a video about that a couple of weeks ago, and this has been sitting here for about an hour, removing the surface rust from these parts here. And you can also see that some of the parts are already done, and here we have a, let's say, half-finished sandblasting job that I was planning to finish in my cabinet that I'm working on, my sandblasting cabinet. And in one of my last lab reports I told you that I wanted to use a sandblasting cabinet because of the reason that I can then recycle the blasting media or blasting material and don't have to buy so much new stuff. But another very important reason why I actually did not finish the sandblasting job is that the sandblasting in itself is a very uncomfortable working process. While you sandblast, the media are basically splattered all around you. They hit your arms and also your face and your eyes if you don't protect them. There's also a lot of dust, and in earlier decades people have also been becoming very ill from sandblasting because of a sickness called silicosis. And in order to prevent these things, there's of course modern blasting media or blasting material that is supposedly not as dangerous as the old stuff that they used back then. But you still have to wear a dust mask, either a cheap one like this or a more expensive model like this one. And actually there are masks who cover the entire face, but what I did up to this point is to wear one of these masks in combination with safety goggles or safety glasses. And what happens is that the water in your breath condensates on your goggles very quickly, most of the time after just a couple of seconds. So while you do your sandblasting outside with the mask and the goggles on, well, you won't really see what you're doing. And that is one reason why I was really getting frustrated with sandblasting the parts on the lathe restoration project. The sandblasting cabinet though is still in the making, and let's go over to some footage of that. Here you can see the more or less finished lower section of the sandblasting cabinet that is composed of a wooden frame that holds a upside down pyramid made from metal sheets that came with the old dishwasher. And the individual parts are bolted together with a whole lot of bolts that I have tried to make airtight by different measures, as you will see in the final video about this. And here I have temporarily put the dishwasher tank on top of the lower section and use an LED light that I want to install the blasting cabinet once it's nearly finished. And you can see that we have good lighting in here. And here I am using some MS polymer based adhesive to make the pyramid more or less airtight, and I also apply some paint to the wooden structure. Now at this moment the whole blasting cabinet is drying up here, and it will take a couple of days until that is really done. In the meanwhile I will proceed with the upper part of the blasting cabinet, but that involves a whole lot of things that still have to be developed in detail. So since finishing the sandblasting cabinet project is kind of harder than I thought, I might be forced to restore the headstock without the sandblasting cabinet in order to just get on with things. But once I will be done with all that derusting and repainting and so on, also of the support, I will then eventually go over to electronics again, or to electromechanics, and I'm sure that a lot of you have been waiting for new electronics videos in a while, and it's true. I guess the last, I don't know, 10 videos or so I made had very little to do with electronics, and that was also just because of the things that I had to work with. But as you can see here, I bought two different variable frequency drives, and I also have the motor that came with the lathe, as well as this other much more recent model of a three-phase induction motor. Now this Danfoss variable frequency drive comes with the control panel, which I had to buy as a separate part, and this cost me a pretty penny, believe me. I also have this SEW Euro drive without the control panel that I bought as a used and malfunctioning part for just €1. So I will take a look inside this in order to learn a little more about the electronics inside these devices. And once we have done all the mechanical work, we will then hopefully get to installing the variable frequency drive and experimenting with that a little bit as well. And for a later time, and that will be in month or maybe next year, I don't know, I'm also planning on various upgrades for the lathe that will involve stepper motors and so on, that will then hopefully enable me to use it for CNC machining. Might sound a little crazy talking about a 100-year-old lathe, but a friend of mine who works in Berlin actually has plans, or he has developed a prototype for just such an upgrade for old lathes. Well, but since the work on the lathe as well as on the sandblasting cabinet is going on so slowly, I actually wanted to come up with a quick idea for a video that I could finish this week, and that is why I bought these car stands here, in Germany called Unterstellböcke, and this car jack here, in Germany called Rangierwagenheber. And for those of you who don't know how these ones work, or what they are composed of, you can see that they have 4 cast iron wheels. 2 of them are on a stiff axle, while these can be used for steering. You then have this cylinder down here and a little valve here on the side. And if you turn that to the right, you can close that valve, and by inserting this tube right here, you can pump up the jack and in this case reach a height of up to 43.2 centimeters. That can then of course be used to lift your car and put one of the stands under it in order to, for example, change your wheels or work under the car and so on. And let's get over to the car and see how this performed. Now, €36 including shipping for 4 car stands rated for 3 tons each really doesn't sound like a bad deal. But I guess that these might be a little too unsafe. And if you take a look at this picture here, you can see that there are very similar things online, but they have an additional safety feature, this silverish pin here. And that could potentially save you if you would accidentally hit one of those levers while lying or working under the car. And well, I might have to pay twice what I paid for these, but I'm okay with that. And my issue with the car jack is that I need one that allows me to pump the car higher than just 34 centimeters. And let me explain to you why. I'm sitting here inside a Mercedes-Benz 280 SE from the early 1970s. It belongs to a friend who happens to be the son of the landlords who own this house. Now, this car has been sitting here for 30 years, and my friend keeps telling me for 15 years that it has to be restored one day. But he's more the kind who's talking the talk but not really walking the walk, if you know what I mean. Now, the thing is, I don't really plan on working on this car anytime soon. But what I want to do is to really assess the damage. Take a closer look under the car and under the hood. And I want to do this together with you guys, because I know that there are some car experts in the audience. And it would be fun to just see what has to be done and just a general assessment of the damage and what is still possible here. So what I was planning to do is to put the car on the stands so that I have enough space to slip under the car. I would love to take the car out of the garage, but I really can't because, well, the steering wheel is locked and I don't know if the keys even still exist. So long story short, I was working on the car a little bit, and here you can see me lifting the old muffler up with this car jack and installing it temporarily to the car again because the old rumbar hangers had broken. This is because I still hope to get under there. But, well, the thing is, as I said, the car jack can't push the car high enough, so I will have to buy something else then. Okay, so we're now upstairs in what I dubbed my new fantasy room, and you can see that I have bought a whole range of picture frames that I want to put up on the walls. And the pictures that have to be inserted here, well, they are still to be made. And I bought some new equipment for that, and I'm basically just waiting for some inspiration to come, and that will eventually happen. And just in case you're asking why is he working on this and on top of the other stuff, well, the thing is that, believe it or not, my private life hasn't been that great in the last couple of months, and improving my living situation really is kind of a necessity at the moment. So this is just some additional work for me that has to be done. And concerning the other stuff, you know, the lathe restoration and the sandblasting build and maybe the work on one of the cars could be the next video. It kind of depends on what gets finished first. So I hope you have some patience with me and hope to see you soon.